And now, Legal Perspective with Nick Clekis.
Carrying a criminal record, even from a single mistake, can seriously affect a person's future. In South Carolina, expungement offers a legal avenue to clear eligible records, giving individuals a chance to rebuild without the burden of a past conviction. Here to explain the process is Ali Menegakis, attorney at Clekis Law Firm. Ali, great to have you back with us. Can you start by explaining the expungement law here in South Carolina?
I wish I could explain all the laws in South Carolina for expungement, but to be honest, it's very complicated. There's lots of different statutes that apply. In general, South Carolina, I believe, is pretty good about expungements. We offer a lot of different things that can be expunged for people that have criminal convictions, but there are a lot of requirements along with them versus, for example, a pardon. A pardon, the difference between that and an expungement is that a pardon is actually done by the governor's office, whereas an expungement is regulated by the courts and by certain laws. So only a judge can actually expunge things. But in general, misdemeanors are expungible. For example, let's say a possession of marijuana can be expunged. You get one misdemeanor expungement in your lifetime, with some exceptions again. Domestic violence can be expunged, lower level misdemeanor ones. There's no opportunity to get a felony expunged in South Carolina. Also, one thing is not eligible for expungement generally is anything that is driving related. So, for example, a DUI, you will never be able to get that expunged, at least with the way the laws are right now. Even a driving under suspended driver's license or reckless driving are not expungible in this state.
When we think of expungement, I feel like a lot of people, if they have the opportunity to get something expunged, they're like, absolutely, of course, I want to. But there's some reasons why maybe they shouldn't. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I think that it's great to get things expunged from your criminal record, right? When we apply to jobs, a lot of jobs will look at your criminal record and run a SLED check, that SLED catch here in South Carolina, to see what convictions you have. But one thing to remember, and why I encourage people to always consult an attorney before going forward with expungements on your own, is that sometimes, let's say, I have a client who's only 19 years old, and he gets arrested and convicted of a small charge, let's say a possession of marijuana. If he gets that possession of marijuana expunged, that conviction expunged, he may never be able to get other kinds of misdemeanors expunged the rest of his life. So it's important for people to be advised of that before they go forward in expunging things. Also, a lot of people think, oh, well, I have a misdemeanor and I should be able to expunge that. A lot of times you can't because there's certain requirements that the law has. For example, for some cases, if you pick up another charge or convicted of another charge within a 3-year period after you finish your sentence for that conviction, you are not eligible for expungement. So before you waste your time and your money and your resources trying to get something expunged, it's helpful to talk with an attorney so you know exactly whether you're eligible or whether maybe a pardon might be better for you, and whether that's something you want to do at this time in your life.
The process costs a lot of money and it's time consuming. How long typically does an expungement process take?
It takes a good amount of time. The expungement paperwork really changes hands between solicitors' offices, the clerk of courts, judges' chambers, SLED, the attorney, the individual, and sometimes it can take months and sometimes even more than a year to get completed.
And I do have to ask, is there any circumstance where an expunged record could still show up on a background check?
That should not be happening if your case is expunged. One thing I have found, though, is that sometimes courts will automatically, or clerk's offices will automatically expunge cases if they're dismissed, for example. But sometimes I found that the conviction is expunged, but the arrest itself is not. And clients come to me and say, well, I got that expunged years ago. Why is the arrest still showing up on my criminal record? Because they didn't also ask for that arrest to be expunged as well. Another reason to go to an attorney. The other thing I think is important to note, Taylor, is that even if you are successful in getting your record expunged, what does it mean? It means that everything from the court system, the record they have of it, your criminal background, all of that is erased, destroyed. but it doesn't include private companies or the news. If the news covers a case and a criminal case, as you know, we can't have you delete that from the internet or come into the news station and delete all of your tapes of that case. The media has rights to that, private companies have rights to that. So, you know, booking blotter websites, that won't actually be automatically deleted, unfortunately.
I feel like we could talk about this topic for hours. I had no idea that expungement was so multifaceted, and definitely we need to contact an attorney even if it's just for advice. We were talking earlier, there was a nonprofit that you mentioned. Talk about that just for a second.
Yes, so Root and Rebound, a colleague of mine, Alicia Flores, she runs the Root and Rebound in South Carolina, rootandrebound.org, and they offer free expungements for individuals that qualify. And there are other nonprofits that will do it for free for qualifying people.
Wonderful. And obviously Clekis Law Firm, they're great to either get something expunged or just for some advice. Allie, thank you so much for being here. 843-9000000, Clekis Law Firm. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
This has been Legal Perspective with Nick Clekis.